But yeah, our tiers that we've got here are Stands with the OG, solid follow-up, it's fine, nice try, but no. And then why did they do this? So those are our ranking or our tiers here that we can put these films in. And I tried to keep it kind of chronologically lined up here, although I'm sure it's not absolutely perfect. But yeah, these are horror sequels that I've seen. So yeah, guys, let's go ahead and get this thing going. Oh yeah, Big Rod says Psycho 2 is my favorite in the franchise. I know. I need to see it. Medley Man hasn't seen it. I think there are a whole bunch of folks that haven't seen it. I look, Gavin says my horses are running free. That's amazing. Gavin also says Rec 2 needs more love in these sequel rankings. Have not seen Rec 2. I don't think the original one's very good. So maybe that's why I didn't see the sequel. And then Coy says right up top with that first one, Davey. Yeah, I think so as well. Coy, I think let's just go on over and put Bride of Frankenstein with Stands with the OG, arguably better than the original Frankenstein film. Both of them directed by James Whale, and both of them masterpieces. The music in Bride of Frankenstein is amazing. I mean, the special effects are incredible. Like the little, like the shrunken down people in the jars or in the bottles, just, you know, it must have freaked people out back in the 30s to watch Bride of Frankenstein and see these kinds of special effects. Cause to me, they still hold up really strong today. So that one's kind of a no-brainer there, guys. What do you guys think about Bride of Frankenstein? Let me know. We got Jamie quoting Rolling Stones here. Love it. Aaron agrees. That's great. Sebastian says this is going to be tough. Well, hopefully not too tough. It's just for fun, Sebastian. So we'll have some fun here. Jamie says Bride of Frankenstein is amazing. Totally S-tier material. Now, Jamie, did you see that one in the theater? I'm just joking. Medley Man has not seen any Frankenstein film. I recommend going back and checking out those Universal horror movies, Medley Man. They're really good. The old Dracula, Wolfman, the old Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And there goes my computer doing its little midway through the stream blip. But hopefully we are back. There we go. For whatever reason, it's like an hour in. Half of the time, my computer wants to freak out. I wonder if that's an XSplit thing. That would kind of crack me up. Yeah, you guys are already chiming in on Jaws 2. Mud says I still need to see Bride. It's really good. It's really good, Gavin. And I think it incorporates, if I remember correctly, there are elements from the novel that didn't get put into the first film that do get brought over into Bride. So that's a really cool part of it as well. Let's see here. Gary says, never ever watched the Universal monsters. You got to get on that, Gary. They're really fun. I think it's kind of like a cool, maybe early October, put in those Universal monster movies, just kind of start getting in the mood for all that kind of stuff. And then you can ramp it up from there. Jamie says, unfortunately, I didn't see Bride in the theater. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, finally one that Jamie hasn't seen in the theater. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Jaws 2. I'm gonna say solid follow-up. I think Jaws 2 is really, really entertaining. I mean, how can you match the quality from Jaws? I don't think you can. So I think they made the right choice here. Sort of feels a little bit like a Friday the 13th, early Friday the 13th film with the teenager characters and all that, kind of some throwaway characters, a little bit of that kind of flirty, sexy late 70s vibe going on as well. I like some of the kills here. I think even though Roy Scheider, his heart wasn't in it, he didn't want to do this movie and, essentially tried to get himself fired, but he was contractually obligated to do the film. And I think his performance is solid. I don't think it feels like he doesn't want to be there as far as I can tell. So, yeah, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. Exactly. Yeah. Great sequel there. Dawn of the Dead from 78. I say, I mean, maybe even goes beyond stands with the OG. Maybe I should have put stands with the OG instead of solid follow-up, because I think Dawn of the Dead is better than Night of the Living Dead. So it certainly stands with it as well. But I think, you know, Dawn of the Dead and favorite of the Romero zombie series. To me, it's not my absolute favorite in the series. That would be Day of the Dead from 1985. But Dawn of the Dead is amazing. I mean, they're neck and neck as far as like how I see them. Yeah, right there, Medley Man. Dawn of the Dead at the top of the list, obviously. Yep, there you go. Gary says, didn't see any of the Jaws movies either. Yeah, I mean, Gary, the original Jaws movie is, I think, you know, it's my favorite film of all time. So I think it's one of the greatest films of all time. Easy. I'd highly recommend watching that. And hey, this is the right time of year because it just celebrated its 49th anniversary. And, you know, the film takes place right around 4th of July weekend. So great time to watch it, you know, as soon as summer is hit. Let's see here. You're going to hate me, but it's fine. For Dawn of the Dead or for Jaws 2? Medley Man telling me what to do here. Put a tier above the one for sequels that are better than the original. I think stands with the OG works, because even if it's better than the OG, it still stands with it. So I'm gonna roll with what we've got here. Jamie says, I saw all of the Jaws movies on the big screen, whether it was in the theater or the drive-in. I've still yet to go to a drive-in, guys. I've never been into a drive-in. I'm kind of bummed out about that. I need to rectify that. Jamie Hart, are you related to Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night? Is that a vampire joke? Night is slightly better, but Dawn fits in right there with it. All right, Aaron Click with the hot take. I like that hot take because I think Night of the Living Dead is really solid. I mean, I think the original Night is way better than the remake of Night for sure. And I absolutely love it. Like, to me, it kind of changed the way I looked at movies. Oh, Gavin says Dawn of the Dead is just fine with him. Yeah, I really enjoy the original Dawn of the Dead, Gavin. But hey, you know, more power to you. We welcome all opinions here. The Oct jumping into the chat. What's happening, my guy? 130 days until Halloween. I can taste it. Not too far away at all. That's great. You guys are hilarious here. Oh, wow. I have a drive-in down the road. I know, Tyler. There's a couple here in the Phoenix area. I've just never been to one. I don't know. I don't know why. Really don't know why. I guess I'm just that much of a homebody, right? So let's jump on over to Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. This is one that I see a lot of people saying is better than the original. I am going to say that this one stands with the OG. I think this one is right there, neck and neck with the original Poltergeist. Very creepy, a good extension of the story that was told in the original, a little bit more insight. Without going the prequel route, we get a little more insight to what really happened, you know, that caused the original haunting in the first film, which I think is a really cool kind of touch to put into a sequel to expand on the lore. Aaron says, if you put yourself in the shoes of the protagonist in Night, it's the absolute scariest. Yeah, it's really claustrophobic. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Day of the Dead's pretty scary too, because again, you know, they're clearly isolated underground. They're literally living next door to, you know, a corral filled with the dead. And not only that, but like if you're a scientist in Day of the Dead, then you have to worry about the military guys, and everyone seems to be kind of going crazy there in Day of the Dead. So yeah, yeah, you guys are hilarious here. So let's see here. You guys are talking about Fright Night, and that, you know, I've never seen the sequel to Fright Night, so you'll notice that sequel is not listed here because I've never seen it. Aaron says, no way on Poltergeist 2. It's fine is more appropriate. It just doesn't have the magic of Hooper and Spielberg. Jamie says Dawn of the Dead OG is great, but the remake blew me away. I love the remake, Jamie. I think I still like the original better, because I like the slower moving zombies better than the fast zombies, but I do really enjoy the Dawn of the Dead remake. I think it's one of the best zombie movies of all time for sure. Okay, so Aaron says it's fine. I put it up with stands with the OG. Should I bring it down to solid follow-up? Should we go the Democratic choice? We'll put it in a solid follow-up to meet in between. It seems like Aaron and I are the only ones with feelings on Poltergeist 2. So yeah, moving over to Halloween 2. Ooh, where did we put this one? Man, if you asked me 10 or 15 years ago, I probably would have said stands with the OG solid follow-up, but right now I'm more inclined to put Halloween 2 as it's fine. That's kind of where I'm leaning on this one, guys. Just I do like how they changed the score up a little bit. The hospital setting is a good idea, although I wish they did a little bit more than just the hospital setting. I like Michael in Halloween 2, but I think they're, like I said, a lot of that dead air kind of time where just shots of the hallway in the hospital. I feel like Loomis is sidelined for a big portion of this movie. All the stuff, when they start explaining the brother-sister connection and all of that, seems like it comes in really late in the film. Yeah, I'm just sort of leaning towards it's fine on Halloween 2. Aaron says Halloween 2 is definitely a solid follow-up. Gavin says Halloween 2 sucks all the balls. What's up, Davey? I just got back. Well, welcome back, Ryan. We're doing our direct sequel ranking. So feel free to chime on in. Going back to Poltergeist 2, Jamie said it's solid. Scary old dude. Yeah, the scary old dude is freaky deaky. Yeah, being possessed by the worm in the tequila bottle, that's pretty wild. Gavin says nice try, but no for Halloween 2. So he really doesn't like Halloween 2. Jamie says it's fine, not my favorite of the series. Which one, Mud? Oh yeah. So you guys are talking about. Okay, yeah. We'll get there. We'll get to the Rob Zombie one as well. Sebastian says I think Loomis was brilliant in H2, carried the movie, but I hate that Laurie was mute the whole time. Yeah, I think that's another issue to me. For me is that Laurie is sidelined. That's another thing that leans into like the kind of dead air aspect of it. And we've got T. Parker Evans in the chat. What's happening, T. Parker? Welcome, welcome. Halloween 2 is overrated, but it's fine. Okay. I think, yeah, we can go ahead and drop Halloween 2 in. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. We can live with it, right? Again, if you asked me 15 years ago, I would have felt totally different about it. But I think Halloween 2018 kind of, knocked Halloween 2 down for me. For sure. Friday the 13th part 2. For me, this stands with the OG. Stands with or surpasses the OG, I would say. Because I think the first Friday the 13th film is really fun, but I think the sequels, a few of the sequels after it, are far better. I don't think I'll get much pushback here. Maybe there will be some folks that don't think that Friday the 13th Part 2 stands with the OG. I think it does. I love the score. I love Ginny as a final girl. I like Sackhead Jason. To me, that whole final act is really suspenseful. I dig what they do there in the final act. It's unique in that not many people, like half of the cast is basically spared because they go to the bar and hang out. So they don't even have to be part of the whole thing. So that's an interesting kind of take too on the slasher sequel, is that you think it's going to be this ridiculous body count, but half the people just bail. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. So everyone's got some thoughts here on Friday the 13th Part 2. Jamie says Friday the 13th Part 2 is my favorite of the series. T. Parker says it stands with the OG, but let's be honest, it's better. Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Damn right it does. 2 and 3 are my favorites. Atta kid, Jordan. Yeah. Aaron says F2 is either solid follow-up or it's fine. My last viewing, I felt it was kind of boring and by the book. Yeah, compared to if you think of slasher movies as a whole, but if you put yourself in that time of like 1981 and we're talking a slasher sequel from 81, I think I don't think it feels so boring or by the book, but I think definitely with everything we know about slashers now, it is paint by numbers in retrospect, for sure. Part 2 was the last Friday with that OG feel to it, and Ginny's the best final girl in the franchise. Can't argue with you there. Thackhead Jason is awesome sauce. Yes. It's better than the OG, but 3 is where it all really starts for me. All right. Gavin's a fan of part 3. Yeah, I enjoy part 3 as well. Friday the 13th, part 6, Jason Lives is definitely great. Well, we're talking direct sequels here. Yeah, I mean, part 6 is my favorite in the franchise, Gary. You're not going to get any pushback from me on there. Ginny is barely in the movie. Yeah, I think, Gavin, for the most part, people, you know, it's that final act and then probably that scene in the bar where she's like putting together the psychology of Jason that people really like about Ginny and what makes her stand out. I mean, to talk a little bit, to go into part 3, I really enjoy a lot about part 3, but the performance of Chris, maybe not necessarily her character, but I think the performance for Chris, I can't think of the actress's name right now. I don't think it's very solid. I think Amy Steele as Ginny, even though she's not in the film as much as Chris may be in part 3, I think the performance is much more solid there. So maybe that's why people, or a lot of people, would put Ginny above Chris. Also, Chris is a total cock tease. What's going on? Last part of the movie carries. Yeah. Jamie says Ginny is definitely my favorite final girl. I got to tell her that last October and it meant the world to me. And I got a hug. Yeah, I might be able to. I'm going to be working at the horror show booth here next weekend at Days of the Dead, and Amy Steele will be there. So I'm hoping to get to meet her. It would be awesome. Medley Man says put Texas Chainsaw 2 in the top. Well, we'll see. We'll see. And Gary's talking more about Friday the 13th part 3. All right. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Gosh, I mean, for me, this is nice try, but no. So this is where I would put this movie, because I like my Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be serious. I like that Tobe Hooper didn't rehash the original. I think that's solid of him to do that. I enjoy that approach. But it doesn't really work for me. I would imagine a lot of you guys are going to say solid follow-up or stands with the OG, because I know this movie gets a lot of love. So I'm willing to bump it up to It's Fine or solid follow-up. But yeah, for me, it's a nice try, but no. Yeah, maybe I'm way off on that one. What's happening, Blu-ray Addict? Welcome to the stream, my guy. Great to see you. Great to see you. Let's see here. I am going to do that, and I'm going to do that, so that way everything over here looks a little cleaner. Let's see what you guys are saying. Jamie says TCM2 is a parody. It's funny and has some good kills, but I didn't like it as much as the OG. TCM3 is better than 2. Yeah, more of a threequel guy. All right, Gavin, good to know. TCM2 is only good for one watch, and then it doesn't age well. I've only seen it once, Gavin, and it didn't inspire me to go back. For me, TCM2 is a solid follow-up. All right, good to know, Blu-ray. We could bump it up. Sebastian says, I think TCM2 is really good, but it felt like a basic slasher. Yeah. Gary says, I've only seen it once, and it was totally fun. Dennis Hopper stole the show. Everyone's saying, what's up to Blu-ray? Aaron Click says, it's fine. I guess been a long time since I've seen it. Yeah. Should I put it... Just let me know, guys. Should I leave it where it's at for nice try, but no, which is where my heart puts it? Or should I bump it up to It's Fine? I don't think it's going to be bumped up any further than It's Fine, but let me know, chat. I want to know. I want to know. All right. So I guess it's the original had that creepy, realistic documentary feel to it. Yeah. Jamie says I give it a nice try, but no. Ooh, yeah. Okay, all right. I'm keeping it here. All right, so it's a nice try, but no, controversial. But yeah, there we go. Next up is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And I'm going to put this, I think it's a solid follow-up. On my latest rewatch, when I did my ranking for the series, it kind of dropped a little bit from where I'd had it before, just in my head ranking. I remember, I love certain aspects of this movie a lot. I think the portrayal of Freddy is really good in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. For me, Jesse, just every scene is him being like, I don't know what's happening to me. And it just sort of, I just kind of got bored of that and was like, this doesn't seem like enough to really make a whole movie about. So I'll put it in solid follow-up. I could it's fine. I could see it as being it's fine. But I think if you just think about those first two movies, don't think about Dream Warriors or anything that came after it. If you're just thinking about it in terms of the first two movies, I do think it's a solid follow-up because it keeps Freddy more on the serious side. At least his character more on the serious side and scary. It's got some oddball scenes, like the dance cleanup montage is strange. The bird blowing up is strange. The S&M bar is strange. Like all of these weird things, but I think it's a solid follow-up because it does something a little bit different than the first movie, and they, stay true to the character of Freddy. So that's why I have it there. Gavin says solid, solid, solid. Jamie says it's solid. Solid follow-up, says Gary. All right. Aaron says it's fine. Script is kind of clunky. I agree. Yeah, I think the story and script are a little shaky on this one. But I think the portrayal of Freddy puts it in that solid follow-up tier for me. This was Jamie's first one in the theater. All right. Gary says, I like Jesse Walsh. She's a great character to watch besides the odd scenes. Yeah. And I think the odd scenes they're all part of it. Right. And, plenty has been said about Freddy's Revenge as far as, looking back on it with the lens of, kind of being, a coming out sort of movie with Jesse's character. And of course, Mark Patton, the actor that portrayed Jesse, came out years later. And I think that's helped the legacy of the film. People sort of now look at it retroactively as like a film that's about sort of, being proud of who you are and letting your true self out and all that stuff. And I think we certainly can look at it through that lens a little bit, but also let's just think of it like within the confines of the actual storytelling of the movie. I think some of that is there kind of subliminally, but I do think it's a bit clunky. Yeah. Sebastian says it's a really fun watch. I just really wish Nancy was in it. Well, she comes back in part 3. T Parker says it's a solid follow-up. The more I watch it, the more I love it. I felt that way. Like my love for it was climbing. And then when I rewatched them all for my franchise ranking, I found that I liked, part 4, I enjoyed more than I had previously enjoyed. And part 2 just felt like kind of a slog a little bit. It's a shame Jesse didn't come back to the series. He could have teamed up with Nancy. That's true. Big Rod says it has the darkest Freddy. I think the first 2 movies definitely have the darkest. Yeah, for sure. Aaron says, I think it's hilarious that people think Elm Street 2's opening scene is good. I think it's stupid. On the bus, the scene on the bus, I'm guessing is what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, pretty silly. I think there are a handful of scenes that really work in this one for me. Not everyone though. All right, guys, let's get cruising here. Yeah, Sebastian, you're right. The creepy demonic version of Freddy, really good shit. Aliens. Now, Aliens is not so much of a horror movie, but the original Alien is. So technically, it is a direct sequel to a horror movie. And I think this one stands with the OG. Again, it's a bit of a different genre, which I appreciate. So this is kind of like the opposite of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. In TCM 2, they do something different. It didn't really work for me. Here in Aliens, they do something different, and it really does work for me because we already have the haunted house version of Alien with Alien. And then to kind of jack up, make it a little more high octane, definitely more 80s, certainly more James Cameron. I mean, now looking back with the lens that we have now, this is about as James Cameron as it gets, right? Taking a property and just doing like kind of like a reboot of it, essentially, which I think Terminator 2 is kind of like just a reboot of that series, essentially. And everyone's, saying stands with the OG. Gavin says it's better. I think that argument can definitely be made. I enjoy the first movie more, But that's just because I'm more of a haunted house movie guy than an action movie guy. Sebastian says it's better than the OG. Blu-ray says I like Aliens more than Alien, but both are 5 out of 5. Yeah, excuse me. I'm still going through puberty over here. Gary says Aliens was definitely great. Awesome cast. Yep. Oh my gosh. Yeah. If Cody Snyder were in here, all we would be doing now is talking about Lance Henriksen. Aliens is great, but overrated, says Jamie. Solid follow-up. Okay. It's more action than horror. Yeah. I just happen to prefer the atmosphere of the first. I'm right there with you, Jamie. Right there with you. Aaron says stands with, although Alien is better. Yeah. Yeah, I think it stands with it because I think it's a really fun time. And yeah, I don't think the first film is boring, although I can see why you would say that because, you know, haunted house films definitely are traditionally more slow burn. So that's, to me, the first movie is just haunted house, but on a spaceship. All right, Evil Dead 2. Some would say this is the best in the franchise. I know a lot of people say Evil Dead 2 is the best in the franchise. It's not my favorite in the franchise, but I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I still do. Evil Dead is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I prefer the first movie to the sequel, but I am going to put this stands with the OG because I think for a lot of people, Evil Dead 2 is kind of like the, you know, that pinnacle of the franchise. Evil Dead 2 for a lot of people is how they got introduced to the series. So to me, I think Evil Dead 2 stands with the OG. In a way, it's like you don't necessarily have to watch the first Evil Dead film. You can just skip right to Evil Dead 2 if you want. I prefer the first movie, so I always like watching it and think of the beginning. The first act of Evil Dead 2 is sort of a of you know, of the Evil Dead. It's funny, the first time I watched the Evil Dead 2, me and my friends were like, what the hell is he going back to this cabin? It took us a little bit to be like, oh, wait a second, because it is odd. Him and Linda are driving out there, and the way that Ash delivers his lines makes it seem like he knows that the cabin has something going on. But then clearly as the movie, you know, moves on, we realize that, oh no, this is basically a remake of the first movie within the first 25 minutes. But yeah, Evil Dead 2, I think stands with the OG. I don't think the franchise would be what it is without Evil Dead 2. You know, mixing in that comedic element and the sort of Three Stooges kind of vibe that we get there. Yeah. Let's see what you guys are saying here. We got My Chunky Jordy in the chat. What's happening, My Chunky Jordy? Great to see you. Evil Dead 2 stands with the OG. That's my favorite in the franchise. Gavin says, why did they do this? Wow, Gavin, you don't like Evil Dead 2 that much. That's extreme, man. It's quite all right, though. All opinions are welcome here. Tyler doesn't think of Aliens as action, horror, creature feature. I can definitely see creature feature. I guess action because there's so many damn aliens and there's the big crew of space marines and all that kind of stuff. So I think of it as an action sci-fi kind of movie. Definitely horror elements, though, for sure. You know, comparing it to the first film, I don't think it's nearly as horror driven. But yeah, I hear you. Evil Dead 2 is such a bad movie. I will die on this hill. Wow, Gavin. Gavin, you should did you review that one on Letterboxd? I should go read your review. Or maybe you should start a channel like a Gavin's Hot Takes. Would be great. I'd love to just hear why, you know, especially with a movie as beloved as Evil Dead 2. Gary says Evil Dead 2 was great, ain't gonna lie. Aaron says stands with the OG. OG's better. Jamie says it's just as good as the OG. Didn't get to see the OG in the theater, but got to see this one in the theater. Blu-ray says Army of Darkness is my favorite in the franchise. Ooh, interesting. That's a hot take as well. Yeah, thank you for reminding me, Gina. Please hit that like button if you guys haven't yet. We're sort of celebrating 700 subs here, a soft celebration of 700 subs. So making that climb towards 1,000. Hopefully we can get there by August, but at least by the end of August. That's the goal here. Sebastian says Evil Dead 2 was a good balance of horror and comedy. Balls to the wall crazy. Oh, yeah. Oh, no worries about any typos, Jamie. typos are welcome. You know, you can have your typos, and then I'll just make sure when I play videos that I mute them, or that the videos are very quiet on the second time that we go through them. Gene says, I can't believe everyone is slamming Halloween 2 and Nightmare 2. Wow. Well, maybe not slamming. Well, you know, I don't know. Gene, I think it's just as time goes on and you go back and look at these movies again. I mean, you know, Halloween 2, it's fine, right? Yeah, you know. Ash got his iconic chainsaw and shotgun. Groovy. Yeah. Army of Darkness is my Chunky Jordy's favorite as well. Yeah, I think the deal with the glitchiness, guys, it's gonna be the internet connection. It's really, really hot here in Phoenix, and we're gonna get a little bit of glitching. I noticed it from my live stream, my Gotham Noir live stream. I know people were mentioning it. I went back and checked it out. It was very minimal, so I'm not going to worry about it too much, because that is totally out of my hands. I'd imagine it's just the internet connection a little bit. Yeah. Evil Dead 2 is better than the OG. Actually, I have the OG as my least favorite, says T. Parker. Ooh, that talk about a hot take. That's a big time hot take right there. Sebastian says, usually when I do a marathon, I start with 2. Yeah, a lot of people just go right to part 2. So yeah, guys, moving on next, a Return of the Living Dead 2. I'm gonna put this one as it's fine. To me, it's so similar to the original film, but just not nearly as good. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna do nice try, but no. Because I can't put it, if I'm gonna put it next to Halloween 2, I don't think it's as good as Halloween 2. So I'm gonna put it to nice try, but no. Because I think the first film is just so damn solid, and this movie just kind of seems like a rehash. Just more of the same. Maybe a little more on the humor side. But yeah, I'm gonna put it as nice try, but no. Yeah, Evil Dead, yep, came out in 87, Evil Dead 2. Yeah, when I first got into the Evil Dead movies, Evil Dead 2 was my favorite out of all of them. But as time went on, I fell more and more in love with the original. SPM2 is also why. What's SPM2? Oh, Slumber Party Massacre. Yeah, we'll get to that. I have to sit this one out. I've never seen Return 2 or any of the Return sequels. I think I've only seen Return of the Living Dead 2 once. And I didn't retain much of it. You know, it didn't stand out to me. Slumber Party Massacre 2. Yeah, for me, this is a why did they do that? Honestly, the only reason why they call this Slumber Party Massacre 2 is because the killer has a drill. So there's a driller killer, but he's a dream demon driller killer with a guitar drill. So it's like this rock star Freddy Krueger. To me, this almost seems like a parody, this film, and it's just really bizarre to me. Slumber Party Massacre 2 did not keep my attention. I really enjoy the original for what it is. It's, you know, a tongue-in-cheek slasher for sure, but it still hits all the slasher elements, all the tropes that I really enjoy. But Slumber Party Massacre 2 just doesn't really do it for me. Destiny's jumping in. I love Slumber Party Massacre 2. I mean, I think it's like a fun enough time, but also it's just sort of like, did it really have to be called Slumber Party Massacre 2? Fatchy says Slumber Party Massacre 2 is ass, just saying. And Destiny, you know, I know you've got a whole bunch of love for the OG. I feel like this movie's so far removed from that OG that they should have just named it its own thing. It's got some memorable moments for sure. And part of me can't really tell, is this movie just like taking the piss? Is that what this movie's doing? Because it sort of feels like that's what this movie's doing. OMG, I didn't see Slumber Party Massacre 2 in the theater. Yeah, it's I remember watching this as a teenager, not long after watching the original, and thinking to myself, wow, this was connected, barely connected to the OG, but the OG is so much damn fun. What's happening, Saturn Video? Welcome to the chat. We are doing a direct sequel horror tier ranking here on the live stream. Never saw the second one, just the first. You guys are chatting so quick. Aaron says maybe it should have been called This Axe Slays. Destiny says similar to Prom Night, original is straightforward and part 2 is paranormal and wild. Yeah, part 2 is definitely like a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of film here. Take care, Gavin. Have a great rest of your day, man. I'm guessing you have to go over to work or something like that. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next time around. So yeah, guys, moving over from Slumber Party Massacre 2, which I put as why did they do this? Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Man, this one is such a beloved sequel. I'm one of those guys where I'm like just ride or die with the original. I love the tone of the original, and it has that Edgar Allan Poe kind of feel in the OG. So I am going to put Hellraiser, Hellbound 2. I'm going to put it as a solid follow-up. I don't think it stands with the OG. It gets a little more like dreamy, a little more trippy, and I applaud them for expanding the lore and taking some chances there. But for me, it didn't keep my interest the way that the original did. So I'm not going to put it as with OG just quite. But I do think it's a very solid follow-up. I had a really fun time with this movie. I like that there's, the creatures that they put in there, like the hellish maze that's in this film is really fun. Pinhead definitely takes over a little bit more as being like a slasher icon, whereas in the first film, they put Pinhead on cover art and everything of the first film, but mostly as far as villains go, it's pretty much an ensemble. And you can, make an argument that, Frank is the real villain of the first film. So, I think Hellbound, Hellraiser 2 is a solid follow-up. Let's see what you guys are saying. Blu-ray says, nice try, but no. Ooh, yeah. Jamie says she thinks it's better than the OG. Bold. I do know it has a lot of love. I don't know if I've heard that before. Hellbound is keeps and bounds better than the original. Oh yeah. See, I don't think so, but I'm trying to see. I guess I could see it as far as like the first movie is such a small story, small scale. Hellbound definitely opens up the scale and expands on that. Taste wise, I think I just like the Edgar Allan Poe style of the original movie, that story that the original movie has. The way they expand the lore here didn't make me think it was better than the original. But yeah, very solid sequel, I think. Aaron Click says Hellbound is solid. Dreamy and trippy is just my bag. Nice. There are iconic villain. Yeah, for sure. I think that they definitely up the ante here in Hellbound. But I do still prefer that original. I don't think this one quite stands up there. But maybe I'll have to do a Hellraiser franchise ranking and give them all a rewatch here. How about Predator 2? Moving over to Predator 2, guys. I think this one for me it's fine. I'm not the biggest Predator guy, honestly. Like I think the first Predator is probably fine too. Like it's a fun movie and everything, but clearly they struggled to really make a viable franchise off of this character until they've made more movies within the last 15 to 20 years than they did the first 15 to 20 years of the Predator IP. So like Predator 2, it's been a long time since I've watched it. There are certain aspects I really enjoy. Again, I applaud it for shaking things up and not just going back to the jungle of the original, but going to the urban jungle of LA in the sequel. But to me, this one is just fine. I don't think that the Predator really needed a sequel, honestly. But we got one. So what do you guys think? Let me know what you think in the chat of Predator 2. We've got Blu-ray says Predator 2 is fine. Tyler says it's dear to me. All right, where would you rank it? Fine, says Jamie. Saturn Video says really stupid, but I love it. Tyler says it's not great, but I love it. Busey, yeah, you've got Gary Busey there. All right, so I'm not getting any pushback on putting Predator 2 as fine. Moving on to Child's Play 2, for me, stands with the OG. I know a lot of people like this one better than the OG. I don't know if I'm quite there, guys. But I do like the tone here. Really love the intro, like scraping off the, all the soot and all the burnt plastic, the shell of the original, good guy doll. Great opening. A really solid sequel, bringing back Alex Vincent. I think he performs better in this one. The actress who portrays Kyle, I'm forgetting her name right now, but I think Kyle is a solid character. There are some really fun kills here. Chucky's personality is turned up just a little bit from the first one, but still enjoyable, not too annoying with the jokes and all that. And man, the epic fight scene at the end that, in the toy factory, that epic scene is just, one of the best, I think, in horror sequeldom, as far as, trying to outdo what you did in the first movie. I think the first one still is, smidge better. Just think about Child's Play 2. Looks like Blu-ray's got to be heading out here. Let's see here. Oh, Blue Wolf. Oh, Gary's heading out. Oh yeah, there he is. Sorry. Have a good one, Gary. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, man. Take care. Sebastian thinks it's fine, nothing crazy. Wish they squeezed in Arnold out of Predator 2. Yep, absolutely. T. Parker says Child's Play 2 stands with the OG. Stands with the OG, says Blu-ray Addict. Absolutely. Child's Play 2 is one of my favorite horror movies. Sometimes I think it is better than the original, says Saturn Video. I think that argument can definitely be made. Jamie says, nice try, but no. Ooh, Jamie. Low blow. No, I'm just joking. Couldn't weigh in on Predator 2. It's been too long since I've seen it. It's been a while for me too. But if it were better than fine, I probably would have revisited it, right? And then Gary chimed in here. Christina Elise plays Kyle. Yeah, Kyle's great. Child's Play 2 is fine, says Aaron Click. Sebastian says, I flip-flop Child's Play 1 and 2 a lot. I really love Kyle and Andy's brother-sister relationship in this. Yeah, I think they've got a great chemistry. And I think I couldn't be mad at anyone for saying Child's Play 2 is a sequel that outdoes the original. Something about the gritty feel of the original, I really, really enjoy. Leprechaun 2 is next. Oh, I'm going to do nice. I'm not going to do. I'm going to put this in why did they do this? I like Leprechaun 3 way more than I like Leprechaun 2. Leprechaun 2 was painful for me. I'll probably never watch it again. I rewatched the first film in the franchise was the only one I had seen before this year. But I rewatched the first film and then watched part 2 and part 3 and did like a little bit of a franchise review of just those first 3 films around St. Paddy's Day this year. So you can check out that video on the channel if you want to see my thoughts on the first 3 films. But yeah, I think Leprechaun 2 is just so boring, so low budget. I felt like they didn't really have much meat on the bone here, but they wanted to make a movie. So they just made a movie. Whereas I feel like Leprechaun Part 3 is really cheesy, but it's like tongue in cheek. It knows it's cheesy and it sort of leans into that and, doesn't take itself too seriously. So I think it was way more fun than Leprechaun 2. Yeah, my Chunky Jordy, not a Chucky fan, hated dolls as a kid. Yeah, Gina, my wife won't watch any of the Child's Play movies with me because the whole doll thing just doesn't, play for her. Blu-ray says Leprechaun 2 is nice try, but no. Let's see here. Sebastian says Child's Play 1 I saw on TV when I was 4 and it scared the fuck out of me. Yeah, I saw Child's Play when I was like 8 or 9 and it scared me, but intrigued me. I asked for a My Buddy doll that Christmas because I love the movie that much. Leprechaun 2 is fine, but it's nowhere near the masterpiece that is 4 in Space. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Jamie. Why? Why? Definitely why for Leprechaun 2, and I haven't even seen it, says Aaron Click. That's hilarious. The girls acting is some of the worst I've ever seen. Yeah. I covered that in my video where I talk about the first 3 films. Saturn video. I talk about that. Yeah, she is a beautiful actress, but dreadful at being an actor. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, you guys casted somebody that's, you know, has a great look, but and she can't act, and like really important to sell a movie. Sebastian was thinking of starting Leprechaun during March, but changed my mind. Yeah, I think the first film is fun. The third film is fun. I haven't seen any of the others, so I'm looking forward to going through the others next year around St. Patty's Day. So moving on to Night of the Demons 2, which was directed by the same guy that directed Leprechaun 3. And I think this is, I'm going to say, stands with the OG. And I don't think Night of the Demons, I'm not saying that this Night of the Demons 2 is as good as Dawn of the Dead or Bride of Frankenstein or any of these other ones. But when you compare it to the first Night of the Demons, which is like kind of an Evil Dead knockoff, let's be honest. I think Night of the Demons, the original, doesn't achieve anything very, doesn't reach great heights at all. So I think comparing those two movies, I think Night of the Demons 2 stands with the OG. To me, it's a little bit more fun. I know it doesn't have Linnea Quigley in it, but I really like the sense of humor that the director from I'm forgetting his name right now. Same guy that did Leprechaun 3 directed this film, like I just said, and really, really fun here. The tongue-in-cheek aspect, the kind of meta approach a little bit. There's a really cool, a really cool montage scene where the nun is like getting ready to fight the demons, and she opens up a drawer in her dresser, and it has all of these yardsticks because she's always walking around with a yardstick so she can smack people. Almost like somebody would carry a gun with them wherever they go in an open carry state. Like she always has the yard with her. I thought that was pretty funny. And then also, I think, what do they fill up like squirt guns with holy water? So, From Dusk Till Dawn took a little nod from Night of the Demons 2. So, even though I would never say it's as good as the other films in this tier, I do think when compared to the original Night of the Demons, it belongs with, stands with the OG. Big Rod says Leprechaun in the Hood. Yeah, I look forward to watching that one. Only watched the original Night of the Demons and the remake. I've never seen that remake. Night of the Demons 2 is solid, says Jamie. All right. Night of the Demons 2 is better than the original, in my opinion. It's just so freaking fun, and that Morbid Angel song rips. Yeah, the Morbid Angel, the soundtrack is great for Night of the Demons 2. Foz and I actually covered Night of the Demons 2 on our very first episode of Movie Punks. So if you guys are fans of Night of the Demons 2, go check that out. Just go ahead and check out the live tab on the channel and scroll on down. We did that one in April. It was the 30th anniversary of Night of the Demons 2. So we covered that film. That was really fun. I watched it a couple times in preparation for the episode and had a really great time. Zach Harris, welcome to the chat. Zach, I'm not sure if I've ever seen you in here before, but Zach says, I only liked the ending with the old couple in Night of the Demons. Oh, yeah. They finally get their comeuppance for trying to, put razor blades in the apples. And Aaron's never seen this one. It's really fun, Aaron. Fun and an easy watch. If you enjoy just like cheesy, don't take themselves too seriously type horror movies, it's tailor-made for you. Blair Witch Book of Shadows, the sequel to the original Blair Witch Project. I've only seen this one like twice. I think I saw this one in the theater. Takes it to a totally different direction. It's not found footage like the original film. I'm going to say Blair Witch Book of Shadows. I'm going to say nice try, but no. I think following up the Blair Witch Project with like standard narrative kind of movie that tries to do, there was like this whole thing in the 90s where there would be this twist at the end where you figured out that a character, was like basically sleepwalking through the story, or You know, the way that this film kind of works, spoiler alert, is there's a whole bunch of murders that go down. Our main character thinks that it's the Blair Witch that's been doing it, but then when they look back on all of like the footage and all of the evidence, it shows that it was actually the main character that was doing it and not, you know, an entity, which is one that's kind of like the twist of the movie. I just thought this movie was kind of, you know, unnecessary to try to follow up the, you know, the success of the original was something a little more standard. Today, nowadays, if they made that movie, it probably would have been like an anthology instead of, you know, calling it. Oh, Jamie says she loves it better than the OG. All right. Book of Shadows is fine, says Blu-ray Addict. Saturn says, I like Book of Shadows a lot, but I can see why people hate it. It's just too different. Aaron says it's fine. Okay, how about I'll nudge it up to it's fine. You guys have been you guys have me convinced that it's fine. Maybe I need to go back and rewatch it. I do really like the lead actor that's in it. Struggling to forget or to remember his name, but he was in Burn Notice. Jeffrey something, I want to say. I thought he was you know, relatively solid here. Jamie says blasphemy. Blair Witch 2 is much more fun and creative. Hidden words throughout the movie. I love the ending. Well, maybe I just need to rewatch it again, Jamie. So I'll put it here as it's fine. It has been a while since I've seen it. I think I saw it. I did see it in the theater, and then I saw it, you know, shortly thereafter when it came out on probably, you know, VHS. Not gonna lie. Don't think I've seen it since then. So yeah, it's probably been a good 20 years or more since I've seen it. So maybe I need to go back and revisit that one. So we'll put it in it's fine for now. And Jamie, I'll rewatch it and we'll do a stream and talk about it. How about that? All right, moving on to From Dusk Till Dawn 2. Oh, why did they do this? It's just so low budget and so haphazardly put together. It's nowhere. Man, does it even have like a quarter of the budget of the original film? To me, this just seemed like a cash grab. I watched it because I really love the original From Dusk Till Dawn, and it seemed like this movie was just like a made-for-TV kind of version of it. A big step down for me. I only watched once, so maybe some of you have fallen in love with it, or you watched it more, but I don't think this one's good at all. Yeah, Blu-ray says, why did they do this? Yep, Jamie, why? And it's a shame too, because you've got like Robert Patrick. I think Bruce Campbell even has a cameo in this one because he's like an actor in a fake soap opera that one of the characters is watching, which is just bizarre, like a world within a world. But you know, they try to do the same kind of thing where it's like criminals, and then the criminals get, you know, mixed up with the vampires, and it's just I don't know why. I don't know why you guys did this. It seems like you could have just gone, you didn't have to redo the criminal thing, although it seems like that's the theme with From Dusk Till Dawn. Now, Scream 2, I'm going to say stands with the OG. I think a lot of people might say that they prefer this one over the original. I prefer the original, and I actually prefer Scream 4 to Scream 3, but man, Scream 3, or sorry, prefer Scream 4 to Scream 2. But Scream 2 has got some really solid moments. I love the opening. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that the knife could just go the divider wall of you know, the stall there in the bathroom. But I do love that opening of the film. I love the whole bit in the car where Ghostface, you know, kills the two police officers and they drive through like the construction site. All that is amazing and really intense. Some awesome performances here. I wouldn't be mad if somebody said they prefer Scream 2 or that Scream 2 is their favorite in the franchise. You know, it's at least a damn solid sequel. So Saturn Video talking about From Dusk Till Dawn 2 says, I think it's okay. Scott Spiegel still brings his style to it, and I love Robert Patrick. I like it, but nowhere near the original. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I didn't know that Scott Spiegel had directed it, but, you know, after recently seeing Intruder and then knowing, the, you know, that influence from the Raimi style, I definitely see that influence, you know, within this franchise. I'd probably have to watch it again to really you know, grasp a better idea. I just don't know if I'll revisit it. Jamie says Scream 2 stands with the OG. Blu-ray says Scream 2 is fine. Saturn Video says Scream 2 is just as good as the original. Aaron Click says Screams 2. Scream 2 stands with. It may not be as good, but it's in that ballpark. I think so. I think so. I kind of want to keep this stream, you know, within 2 hours. I also have a stream to jump on in about an hour, so I need to give myself some time to take care of real human stuff. So let's just barrel through this last group we've got here. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm going to say it's fine. The original is like just kind of okay to me. Part 2, it's fine. I guess I could put this in nice try, but no. But I have a fun enough time watching this movie, and it's, you know, the runtime is economical. I don't feel like it really wastes my time or anything like that. So again, comparing it to the movie that came before it, not necessarily comparing it to the other movies within that tier. Yeah, everyone's on board with that. That's great. Final Destination 2, comparing it to the original, I'm going to say stands with the OG. I think this is a solid sequel. Now, this franchise is like nowhere near being one of my favorites. I think the franchise as a whole is fine. But I do think that part 2 stands with that original for sure. Sorry, guys, getting a little sniffly here with the AC on, being it's just on all the time now that it's, let's see how hot it is here in Arizona. It says it just hit noon and it's 101. Feels like 109 is what the weather's saying. That's wild. Part 2 has my favorite opening. Final Destination 2 is solid. Final Destination 2 is awesome. There we go. Cool. Perfect. This is great. All right, we're moving on through. Saw 2. I think this is a stands with the OG kind of situation for me as well. I think the first few Saw movies are in that same ballpark with one another. Again, they find a good way of bringing a twist into Saw 2, which I appreciate because I'm not the biggest like torture porn kind of guy. So for me, it's more about the story. And I think that's the better Saw movies are the ones where the story works, you know. And I think here in Saw 2, yeah, stands with, if not better than the OG. I agree, Jamie. I think it's a really good sequel. Zach says, no way Scream 2 is as good as the OG. It's a decent watch, but all the side characters aren't as entertaining outside of the new cameraman. I think Mickey takes away from the movie. Yeah, it's a little obvious that Mickey is doing something. There's more than one moment where he kind of leads on to that. But I do think it you know, stands with the OG. I'm feel pretty good about that. Let's see here. Hot take. Saw 2 is a nice try. Oh, that is a hot take. Aaron with the hot takes. Saw 2 is solid. Doesn't reach the heights of Saw 3. Gosh, I don't even know if I remember Saw 3. I remember Saw 2 because it's got Donnie Wahlberg in it, right? And his son's like in the cage the whole time. Oh, and Jamie, shocker here, says, I saw none of the Saw movies in the theater. I don't think I've seen any of them in the theater either, Jamie. All right, so we're going to whip through. We've got 7 minutes to go through these. Conjuring 2, that stands with the OG. I'm not like head over heels with the Conjuring movies. I think they're decent. I think these possession movies are all kind of the same, right? I mean, they're all kind of the same. Nothing against the Conjuring universe. I think they're solid films and everything like that. I would just rather watch like The Exorcist or watch like a haunted house movie like The Changeling or something like that. Now, on the flip side of that, similar, you know, let's see here. You know, I'd say Conjuring 2 stands with the OG just because, again, we're comparing it to the original. So I don't think Conjuring 2 is great by any means, but I think it's, you know, right there with the OG. They're both like, I would say, B- kind of movies for me. Insidious Part 2 or Chapter 2, I'm going to put stands with the OG as well. I think the first 2 Insidious movies are really fun. I like those better because it's more of like that haunted poltergeist kind of feel, other rather than, I know in a way there's like kind of a possession thing going on, but I think the way that these movies are, the narrative they use is more like poltergeist, more like a haunting kind of thing, and less like a traditional possession movie, which the Conjuring movies remind me of more. But Insidious 2, I think, is right up there with the original. I think it's a great follow-up. Now, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Now, when we say Stan OG, if we're comparing to Rob Zombie's Halloween, then to me it's way better than Rob Zombie's Halloween. Far superior to his remake. If we're comparing the original, which in a way you could watch the original Halloween and then follow it up with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and they just sort of rewrite the end of the original, right, to kind of get you caught up. So if we're gonna compare it to the original one, I would say it's fine. I really like this movie, but I think if you tried to follow up the original Halloween with this one, it does take some much bigger chances, whereas I think stands with the remake, as it were. So let's call it this. Let's meet in the middle. Let's say solid follow-up, because stands with the OG. I don't want people to think I'm saying that it stands in the same company as John Carpenter's original. But we are getting some stands. Yeah, Blu-ray Insidious 2 stands with the OG. Rob Zombie Halloween 2 stands with the OG. Stands with the OG. All right. Yeah. It's incredible. One of the best movies in the franchise. Yeah, I think it is one of the better movies in the franchise as well. Okay, we'll put it stands with the OG. You guys convinced me. All right, let's see if we can wrap this one up within the next few minutes here. Halloween 2018 for me stands with the OG. That's a no-brainer. It's one of my favorite sequels in the franchise. I think it's probably my second favorite in the franchise. Texas Chainsaw from 2022. I'm going to put I think I'm going to put it's fine, because at least they fit the tone of the original a little bit. Yeah, you know what? Nice try, but no. This movie, it just tries to kind of copy Halloween 2018 a little bit, trying to cash in on that. It's really short. It's not very memorable. Comes off like a made-for-TV movie. Yeah, I think the Texas Chainsaw 2022 was like, had some okay moments. But for me, just, yeah, nice try, but no. Why did they do this as Blu-ray? Saturn Video says 2018 Halloween is fine, just okay, honestly. Yeah, I mean, I disagree there, but I get it. If that DGG trilogy isn't really your flavor, then I totally understand. But I think that it's the most interesting I've ever seen Michael outside of the original. So I love that 2018 film. And then rounding out the cast here is we have Terrifier 2, which I would put in stands with the OG. I think it's better by like 1,000,000 times. I think it's so much better than that terrible first Terrifier movie, which was just hardly a movie at all. Terrifier 2 just kind of blows it out of the water. And yeah, what's happening, Eli? Great to see you here, man. Welcome to the chat. We are just finishing things up. I'm actually got to wrap up very, very soon here in just over 2 minutes. So yeah, guys, in stands with the OG, we've got Bride of Frankenstein, Dawn of the Dead, Friday the 13th Part 2, Aliens, Evil Dead 2, Child's Play 2, Night of the Demons 2, Scream 2, Final Destination 2, Saw 2, Conjuring 2, Insidious Chapter 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. We have David Gordon Green's Halloween from 2018 and Terrifier 2. In solid follow-up, we have Jaws 2, Poltergeist 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, rounding out that one. In It's Fine, we have Halloween 2 from 1981, Predator 2, Blair Witch Book of Shadows, and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. In Nice Try But No, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, The Return of the Living Dead 2, Part 2, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2022. And then in Why Did They Do This? We've got Slumber Party Massacre 2, Leprechaun 2, and From Dusk Till Dawn 2. So yeah, guys, that is going to wrap it up here.